Hey everyone, welcome back to the Women Who podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Annie, along with Andrea. And today we're both so excited because we have a woman as our guest. She's a pillar of this community. She is a boutique owner that most of Andrea's money goes to. We're actually all wearing the brand. I will let our guest tell you the name of her company, but she's incredible. She has journeyed so much through business and through life, and we're just so excited to have her here. So without any further ado, Vanessa, will you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. My name is Vanessa Sauma. I'm owner of OHM Boutique.
Awesome. And you've been owner of OHM Boutique for how long?
14 years.
14 years.
14 long years, but
Wow.
very, very, very beautiful years.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started the boutique?
I was 23 years old.
23.
It was a beautiful opportunity that my parents gave me. I, like most 20-year-olds, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I came from a family of entrepreneurs. Both my father and my mother had their own businesses. They worked together and independently. So I kind of always saw myself as owning my own business. I just didn't know what. I didn't care. Most people either know they want to be a doctor, a lawyer, you're working towards that. I didn't. I just knew I wanted to do something and do it well with life and just, going through it. I worked in retail in my late teens, had a lot of random jobs. And I think that's important too, to dive into different things, try different things, see what you like, see what you don't.
See what you're good at, where your talents lie.
Yeah.
What teenage girl doesn't love shopping, right? So I thought, let me work at a couple of little boutiques, stuff like that. I learned a lot. I wanted to open a store. I was still very young at the time. I think I was like 19, 20. My parents are like, are you crazy? I went to fashion school. I went to the Art Institute there in downtown.
Yeah.
Loved it. Great experience. Maybe had too much fun there.
I feel like we can all say that.
Yeah,
No matter where you go to school, you had fun.
College
were
kind
you
of thing?
schooling or were you?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, this was different though. So it was everything I loved. I was learning about fashion, producing fashion shows. I was at a club at 3 a.m. to do a fashion show, but
That's
that's what I
awesome.
was supposed to be doing.
Right.
I wasn't like partying. I was working. Obviously, you get caught up in the partying of it all.
Especially in Miami.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then I kind of got really confused around 20, 21. Took a little bit of a hiatus. Then I was about to get a job at State Farm. Just another random job in my way to
Jump around,
figuring out life, right?
Yeah.
I got the job. I left the interview. They were like, we love you, all this stuff. I get home and my parents are there with my brother. And I'm like, what's up, guys? Like, this sounds like a serious talk.
Yeah, like, hey.
Like, Vanessa, we've been thinking, especially that little hiatus I told you I took. I was doing a lot of work for them, a lot of their errands. I've always been a very responsible person. They're like, you've really proven yourself. I know you went to go get an interview at State Farm, but how about you open your clothing store that you wanted? I looked at them and I was like, what?
Wow. So this is like what, 3-4 years later, right? Because you're 23 when you opened the store. So you still had that dream. You still
absolutely.
like, even though you were moving on and, trying to get other jobs just to make income and work, you still had that in the back of your mind. So that dream never left you.
It. I loved it. I loved the buying aspect, putting outfits together. I loved it. So when they said that, I was just like, well, it was like end of 2009, 2010, economy wasn't great. And then now you're also being presented with your dream, right? So I was like, do we do it? Do we don't? Yes, we did it, clearly. That was June 26th. My brother was my business partner when we first opened. By July 15th, we found the spot, signed the lease, and August 28th was my first sale. Wow. We weren't officially opened yet. I was still waiting for a couple of licenses and clothes to arrive. But my best friend was my first sale. I love that, and I will never forget that, which is why I remember the date.
Yeah.
But when in opening the business, So they had told me, we'll lend you a little bit of money. That's how we started up. We did everything ourselves. We painted the walls ourselves, like no AC in there, because every dollar counts.
Of course,
right? And I
yeah.
wanted to put more money into the clothes.
Right.
That's what was going to make me my money back. And that spot pretty much till this day, I know we've moved around. You've both been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But for the audience that's listening,
Yeah.
it's changed over the last 14 years. I was one spot, then I grew to two. But overall, the original spot still looks the same.
Yeah.
That would
Yep.
be where the website's held
Yeah.
from. Same floor. Actually, no. A month ago, we had to remove the floor. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Well, was the bathroom the same?
The
Maybe.
bathroom.
Okay, see there.
The
Or
crappy
no?
little bathroom.
Yeah, it's a
is
little
the same.
bathroom. So we do have something that's the same. So
It's
it's the
embarrassing.
original bathroom, guys.
It is the original bathroom.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And you know, because you work there.
So I was going to dive into that a little bit later in the podcast, but yeah, so Vanessa, for those who don't know, she was actually my first boss, but I'll call her a leader because that term, that's one of the things that why I think Vanessa, or I know Vanessa has been so successful is because she's been more of a leader, and everybody who has worked at OHM has been a team member and has been a pillar of the business. She makes you feel like the brand is partially yours. So I kind of want to dive in a little bit of that, of how, your parents gave you a loan. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so proud of this because I do think it's very important. We paid that loan off in 6 months.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Granted, I didn't receive a paycheck for 6 months. Neither did my brother. That's what you do when
course.
you run a business,
yeah,
right?
I was
Like,
going to say, especially as a
in the
business owner,
beginning,
so
yeah.
many people think, oh, I want to be a business owner so I can be free and live life and make the most money, but that's not always how
No.
that
go
looks.
work for someone. That's
Yeah.
your best bet
Right,
to,
Yeah.
to live that kind of life.
Yeah.
You got to
That's
put your
amazing.
business first.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you, thank
awesome. That's
you.
awesome. But yeah, how did you kind of build? I know OHM sells clothes. It's a boutique, but give us the heart of OHM and the heart of the team members that work with you, the girls who work with you. If you can dive into that.
Of course. My favorite. So in opening OHM, there were a lot of boutiques. I had even worked at some. So in thinking about it with my brother, we talked a lot about it, like what's going to make us different.
Mm.
So you start thinking about like what you experience walking into stores. What would I want to
Right.
feel? What do I want to walk into? I want to walk into a cozy spot where I'm seen, where I'm loved, where I'm not worried about how I'm showing up there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know? Because
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys, that you go to a certain store or certain places and you're like, oh, but I look like a train wreck. I probably shouldn't go there today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want it to be the place that you're coming to as the train wreck.
As you
Right.
are.
As you are.
No
and
Or
matter
people
what
are
day
gonna
you're
think that you
having.
can't afford their clothes just because you're not
Yeah.
dressed the part, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So that was very special to us. We wanted to create a place where people could come in, whether you bought something or you didn't, or you were just browsing, you wanted to feel good energy, you wanted to share with like-minded individuals. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
So where we make money, yes, it's a transaction. I sell clothes, but I don't sell trendy. I don't sell a lifestyle. I give love and friendship.
Yeah.
Is really what we all do.
Yeah.
And as a team, we all feel that. I think God has really blessed me in sending me the perfect people. I've never looked for them. You, Annie, being one of them.
Yeah.
And through life, decisions you make and things that you do bring these people
Yeah.
into your lives. And
Yeah.
I can't take credit for that. All I can take credit for is what I've given out of my heart.
Yeah.
But God has brought wonderful people that receive that love and give back that love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I always felt when I was working with you. And when you talk about giving the love, you have given me and other people in Miami so much love. I mean, both Andrea and I are entrepreneurs as well. She has a Rostagi photography, her wedding photography company. I had a Market Social, and I remember the two books that you gave me, Conversations with God and 25 Biblical Laws of Success.
Yes.
She gifted me both of those when I started A Market Social. And so I want to ask you, has your faith played a role in this journey, in your success as an entrepreneur? How do you define success faithfully, biblically, or is it like, how do you stay away from the worldly success? Because you are in a materialistic industry.
Yeah.
How do you navigate through that?
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that. And we hear it often, especially at church. And the more I go deeper into my faith, following that road is not an easy one. It's going to cause a lot of disruption in your life. What you thought you wanted, what you thought was important is no longer important to you. And I've been caught in between the two worlds, trying to find a way to make it make sense for me.
When you say it doesn't like we were trying to make sense of it, did you have a group of people who helped keep you, on the right track? Or did you have a group of mentors that you looked up to? Or did you find this leadership role and the path that has led you where you are today by yourself?
Found the path where I am today by myself in a very difficult way. I will say I did reach out in the last 10 years of my life. I've gotten different coaches, which have helped me dabble in certain things
where you're probably weaker in, that you feel like you're weaker in, right?
So
like,
I got my first coach when I was 30, probably 29, 30, around there.
Is she the one who has done sessions at OHM?
One of them,
One of them, I remember. And that's another reason.
That's Angie Sanchez. I love her to pieces.
Well, and that's another reason, like, Vanessa's such a giver. So even to her team, she gives her resources. And I think that's incredible.
I still do it. We do it a couple of times a year. We get together for our own bonding.
That's amazing.
And I always have either Angie or my other friend, Nicole, which, she's a doll. Humans bloom, by the way.
Yeah, I love that.
I have them come and talk to the girls. We're all in different seasons of life. Like,
that's beautiful.
What do you need? How can I help you? If I know that they're going through midterms or finals, because I do get some that are in high school or college.
Wow.
Just that balance.
Yeah.
But going back to it, mentors, coaching really helped me. And it was almost eye-opening. When I went to go see her, I was in this great place in my life. I was super successful, had my house, all of these things. My relationship was great, but I was like still not happy. There was something that wasn't fulfilling me and I couldn't figure it out. I learned so much with her, a lot of coping strategies, with like the anxiety, the pressure, all of that. She is actually the one that introduced me to conversations with God.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, that's what I was missing this whole time. And that book you read the book. It's this. So I was raised Catholic my whole life. I went to Catholic school my whole life. And I had this vision of religion and God and Hail Marys and Our Fathers and certain things, and it's so much more. I was doing a practice. I didn't have a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, okay, I want to dive a little deeper into that. Yeah. And that's probably what I've done for the last 7-8 years of my life, just gotten closer to God. And it just all clicked. It all made sense on what I was doing. I'm like, oh, these are gifts that he gave me that I get to put into other people.
Wow.
Ooh, I might be taking you to the outside. I think that was just confirmation.
I think so. He's like, yep, right
that's
here.
It.
Yep,
that's it.
You hit the nail on the head.
And that actually, the closer I got to God, I found more purpose in my own business. Because for a while there, I was like, I'm not even that fashionable. Like, I care about people, but I don't care about clothes that much anymore.
Yeah.
So how do I still keep doing what I'm doing and find purpose in it?
Yeah.
My purpose was people. And my purpose was to serve people,
Yeah.
whether it was customers, whether it was employees, whether it was other women in business.
Yeah.
Like, friends of mine that wanted to be a photographer, I'm like, pick up a camera, let's go. Let's go take pictures.
People God's connecting you to, really. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I want to actually piggyback off of something that you were saying in regards to your parents, right? And I think we were at team conference this Saturday at our church at VU, and they were speaking about how you speak to people and what the potential you see in people, right? And I think it's such a beautiful thing and such a beautiful testimony to see how your parents believed in you, right? In a moment where you might have been feeling like, what do I want to do with my life at 23, which a lot of young girls go through. I think even in your 30s, you still go through, right? Like you're like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. What am I now besides what I've known my whole entire life? Like your parents believed in you and believed in this idea and this vision that you had, right? This dream that you had. And they were just like, here's money. We don't expect you to bring it and give it back to us, but you did anyways, because in them believing in you, it only pushed you to actually like drive yourself to succeed because you wanted to give back to them something that they were believing in you. And it's almost like they sowed the seed and they planted it in you. You watered it. And out of what came out of it, that fruit of your labor, you were able to pay them back what they sowed in you.
What a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
That's
And
exactly
it's crazy because I don't think parents realize the significance that has and that impact that it has when they actually believe in their children and say, hey, let me actually pour into what you want to do.
Yeah. I think that goes for any relationship too, like husband and wife, or, you know, obviously parents and children, coaches and children, mentors, leaders. But I
bosses,
and
teams.
Well, it goes back to like, they did that to you and now you're almost doing it with your team. You know, you're doing it with the people around you. You're like, how do I help in their development?
Right.
And that is such a beautiful thing to see because you're seeing their potential and now you're sowing that same seed in them.
You just connected such beautiful little dots
like
for me
full
too, though.
circle moment.
I've always been so appreciative of my parents, but I don't think I ever saw it in such a 1, 2, and then what comes of
you're
it.
multiplying it. And that's really what God calls us to do, to multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply. Yeah.
It kind of just clicked for me too.
I love
it.
I love it. I also love how you said, you know, obviously you've been in love with fashion for so many years, but after a point, you know, the passion or the love for it can fade. Like we grow, we mature. And I think it's so beautiful how even though your passion for clothing or fashion and trends shifted, you, instead of saying, okay, I'm done with the OHM Boutique, you were like, let me get a fresh perspective on it. How else can I keep OHM but provide something that I am passionate about, which is loving on people. And I think that's something that, you know, you changed the trajectory of how boutiques run and operate, because when I was working at OHM, you allowed us to you know, really connect with the shoppers. Yeah, I had so many OHM shoppers' names in my phone. If I knew they were looking for some sort of event, if they had a wedding, if they had a birthday, and, you know, we didn't have anything in the store that day, but a new shipment was coming in 2 days, I would be able to be, hey, Sarah, you know, this dress came in, send them pictures. It was like you know, we really got to celebrate women and help them feel their best at an event. So, yeah, I think that's beautiful that you were able to, you know, your passion shifted, but you still were able to operate out of what you built, which is OHM Boutique for 14 years. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. And I
want to touch on what you had said. And that's what I tell all the girls to do. I encourage it. Make your own relationships with these customers. Right. Yeah. And I don't even want to call them customers, like friends. Yeah. They're the same faces that are coming in day in and day out. They're relying on us for certain things. And even if it's not clothes, it's just advice or, hey, I bought this dress somewhere else. Do you have a seamstress? I don't know how to put my bra on. So we started sharing other people's videos because I don't really like to take my own reels and videos like that. Yeah. Of those little tricks that I've learned over time. Like, how can I share that with everybody else? Right. Right. And you guys making your own relationships and serving the people that are coming to you, because I can't be everywhere at the same time. Right. But how wonderful does it feel to serve them? Right. And help them? And then look at how many friendships came out of it 100%. In the process.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I worked with 2 of the girls, and they're still 2 of my best friends to this day. So you really cultivate a family and a team. But speaking of the way that you share things, I know we live in the culture of gatekeeping. And if someone's successful, it's like, oh, I can't share that with anyone because not me, but in general, like I feel like especially women are like, I don't believe that there's enough to go around for everyone to win. So at Women Who, obviously, we are collaboration over competition. And you are that same way. Yes. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, what I've always believed is there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
You can go buy as another business owner, as another boutique owner, let's be very specific. We can both sell this exact same blazer or these exact same boots. Me telling you where I purchased these as a buyer isn't going to hurt me.
Right.
I have my customers. You have your customers. There's more than enough.
Yeah.
And if they're going after the item and the price, let's say, because that person sells it cheaper or anything, then that person is more interested in the price of the item.
Right.
What I care more about is the feeling. How do you feel when you walk in?
You're the relationship.
Yeah.
The experience, the relationship, the loyalty through all of it. There's more than enough for anyone. And if I lose a couple of customers in the process, I'm more than certain that God's going to bring me the other ones that resonate more or love what we have to offer more.
Yeah.
And that the same goes with all of it. Whether it's a team member, a new team member, or a jewelry brand that wants to work together. I rarely charge a fee for anyone to host a pop-up at the store or anything because why am I going to charge you? And I know it's backwards business mentality because anyone that's hearing this is probably like, that girl's stupid.
No.
But I wouldn't.
Don't say that about my friend.
But I've heard it from people too. Like, Vanessa, you don't charge. Like, you could be making money off of that. Like, I don't want to make money off of that. I don't want to make money off of someone's opportunity to grow their business.
Right.
Let's say I charge them $100, right? Just throwing a number out there. That's $100 that they could be investing into their own small business. Because if they're asking me to be a pop-up, that means they're still starting up. They're still growing.
Right.
How can I help you?
Yeah.
That's how I can help you.
They want to be seen. So you're making them be seen. Yeah.
And I'm going to help you do
And
that.
I think you are grateful for the growth you've had, for the success you've had. But something that inspires me is you don't remember the small beginnings that you had. So you don't forget the small beginnings. You don't forget the struggle. You don't forget how many hours you put in. You don't forget waiting to make a sale. And so I think that's beautiful how, again, your want to give back is I'm going to try and help brands grow rather than charge them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's beautiful.
I really just want to be the person that I wanted when I was that age, when I was in my 20s trying to figure it out and be lost and scared and not know who to turn to, right? I could turn to my parents, but it's a different generation. They didn't really know how to help me.
Yeah.
With certain things. And then the hustle culture, right? Like that's how I started.
Right.
Day in and day out, don't breathe, don't do anything but work.
Right.
My 20s were really rough.
Did you experience burnout? That's actually what I want to focus on, I want to bring around more of the personal life. Because a lot of people, especially young girls, right, in a city where hustle culture is such a thing, they can experience burnout. But it's also this like mentality of I am seeing what everybody else is doing around me. I'm not good enough. Comparison, right? Yeah. So it's like I want you to speak a little bit on your personal life and the struggles that you've had to go through in that. And also because I love the fact that you guys are one of the few boutiques that are still closed on Sundays. Yes. And it's something that I've always respected and admired because a lot of boutiques may be like, hey, on a Sunday, I actually want to like open up because I could still make some sales. And you're like, no, everybody needs a break.
So starting out, I would open Sundays. I opened Christmas Day. I opened Christmas Eve. I opened Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
I never made the girls work those days. I myself worked the floor those days because that's not fair.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's my dad instilled in me. Man, nobody worked like that, man. He taught me incredible work ethic, which also got me stressed out and burnt out and really unhappy.
Yeah.
Probably one of the reasons I hired a coach in my 30s because I was like, this can't be it, right? Like, I can't be living like this. And I did. I fell into, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I need to do more. I need to do more. Looking back, I would have told myself, chill out.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy a little bit more. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to work itself out.
Yeah.
Just chill
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Pardon my French.
In your burnout, right? Like you obviously experienced that in your 20s. So that's one of the struggles. But are there any other struggles that as an entrepreneur you've had to face that now in your 30s you're like, man, like if I would have done this differently, I wouldn't have experienced this. Like in my case, I suffered from anxiety, right? Like I ended up getting to a point where I was shooting weddings every weekend that I was just burning myself to the ground, and I started having panic attacks. And I was like, okay, I need to take care of myself first before like now pouring into other people's weddings, because this isn't serving anybody. So in your case, it's like, what do you feel that you've kind of lost like on the course of, you know, success pretty much?
I thought, especially for the first like 4 years, I thought I had to do it all on my own.
Preach it.
It just had to be me. Nobody could do it the way that I did. I couldn't really trust. Where I've always loved, it was still, and not competition, just fear.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
So you struggled with delegating.
yeah, absolutely. I took everything on myself. It wasn't till a couple of years in that I was like, okay, how successful is a business if it can't run without you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So start, and that I was blessed with wonderful people that came into my life that I could see so much of me in. And I'm like, oh, we can definitely grow together. I trust you. I want to help you grow. This is just as much yours as it is mine.
Right.
But life happens and you still have to keep showing up during the rough times, the lack of sales, the how do we stand out from the crowd? When we first started, we didn't, there was Instagram, but it was more for personal people, not. So on my own personal page, I would just create cute little outfits on the floor. These were days like there was no
The
one
flat
coming
lays.
in. Yeah, the flat lays.
Yeah.
And that was just like me trying to find a way to get customers to come in.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
a couple of emails,
You
but
gotta
it was
pay
like
your
a
bills.
Tuesday afternoon,
Yeah.
and we were brand new. Nobody was coming in there. I
Yeah.
couldn't like do some advertising on Instagram.
Of course,
and
they're
have
like pay ads didn't
Yeah,
exist
no.
unless you wanted a billboard.
Yeah.
a billboard or a magazine
yeah,
article.
a
Like I did
newsletter,
do
yeah.
like a CBS that they do in South Miami.
Yeah.
I ran one of those. It was super expensive. Not a single
Yep.
person came in
Yep.
from it.
Yeah.
A lot of bad decisions. But what got me through is I didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
And I believed in what I was doing. And I found so much joy in meeting new people every day and talking to them that carried me through a lot of it.
Right.
Whole lot of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Whole lot of prayer and crying in a bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't give up. You look inside and you say, also making my parents proud.
Yeah.
Considering they had given me, they believed in me, they gave me that opportunity. So that was a big push for me too.
Yeah. Do you think, I know we talked off the air about how you're one of 5 and you're the youngest one.
Yes.
Do you feel like that had to do with the pressure that you put on yourself to succeed because you were the youngest one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's funny because I think if you ask anyone in my family to describe me, or it just, can I curse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Go for it.
I'm like, oh, that's a tough bitch.
Yeah.
Like that's, of course that is.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't describe myself as that. I'd describe myself as like the little girl that's always crying, because I am a crier. I'm a very like emotional.
I
like,
love how Brittany, our producer, is raising her hand. I saw that from my.
know,
Are
I
you
looked
tearing
over
up
at her.
right now? I think she's crying at this moment. Okay.
I am such a crier. Like I
Yeah.
cry over good things, over bad things. My dad would always look at me. He's like, "No me lloras." Like, stop it. I can't.
Yeah.
But it just comes out.
Yeah. Well, that's why I asked, because I know our producer is the youngest
Yeah.
one of 4. And I'm like, I know the pressure she sometimes feels. And it's, you feel like you sometimes have to overachieve, right? Just to get the approval, even of your siblings sometimes, because you don't want your siblings to be like, oh, she's the one that got it all handed
easy,
over.
yeah.
Yes.
Because usually that's the baby story, right? The
course.
baby story is they were too tired to raise me, so they just I did whatever I wanted.
I mean, that still is part of it. I really did. By the time I came, it was like, you don't want to go to school, don't worry about it. Like you're good.
Yeah.
But I don't. My family never really made me feel any pressure like that.
Yeah.
We're
It's
all,
internal.
Yeah.
It's
I was gonna say
internal.
It was definitely internal.
Subconscious.
It's funny
internal.
because everyone's so different. all my brothers and sisters. But me, the youngest and the oldest are very similar. I think we're the only ones that went with a creative route. My oldest brother, he's also a teacher. I think he's still teaching at Rockway. I don't know if he switched schools. I think he might have. He used to teach at Rockway, but he's also an artist, a painter.
Oh, wow.
He does amazing work. The three in the middle don't really drink, aren't terribly social or anything like that. Me and the youngest and the oldest are very similar. I don't really drink or am that social anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our personalities are very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always find that to be so interesting because it's like you always see like the middle child who all like is kind of sandwiched too.
Yeah.
Like and they're trying to like find their way because they're just kind of like, okay, like I want to also be successful.
Yeah.
But then there's the baby that kind of is either like the lazy one or the one that overachieves entirely. So
yeah. But I think it's also for you too as an only child.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You had that pressure
Yeah.
to want to make your parents proud
Yeah.
because no one else
Yeah.
could. It all
fell on me.
fell on you.
Well, and it's an internal struggle too, like
Right.
she said, which is why I probably can pick up on it because
Which
I'm
is-
like, I see so much of myself even in her. Like it's like a mirror to myself right
but
now.
also you sneaky mom. She's not a mom, by the way, but I love to say that is that what Andrea does is if she's such a good friend and she knows like what all of us struggle with like separately as women who, so like she knew Brittany was in the room producing. So she's like, I'm going to ask this question because I know it's going to also help Brittany. And so she's like always trying to like,
Well, it helps everybody.
it does.
I think,
and that's what I love. So I love that so much about you. It's
I
why,
think everybody needs people like that
Yeah.
in their lives.
no, literally.
Absolutely.
Andrea's the friend who, if I cannot get out of bed in the morning and I'm struggling and crying and in a hole, my dogs will start barking, my front door will open, and I'm like, well, I guess Andrea's here. I guess it's time for me to get out of bed. Like,
you always need somebody, I feel, to show up for you,
You do.
when you can't show up for
You do.
yourself, right? And it's conversations that we've all had, like off the mic and stuff too, in those moments where you feel like you isolate. And I know we had talked about isolation before in regards to like you're going through something and you immediately just like pull back and like you're so used to being the one that's there for other people, but when it's your turn, you're like shutting down from the world.
How did you navigate? I mean, as a boutique owner and as a woman in Miami, like we're always culturally expected to show up like perfect, hair and makeup done, outfits perfect, and so owning a boutique, how did you handle that? Yeah, balance it,
So it's funny we bring this up right now and the isolation. I'm actually currently going through a very difficult season in my life. So Annie, when you asked me to come speak on the podcast, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this right now. Like, what could I possibly say?
Right.
I'm going through it. It's been a couple of years now. The last like 4 years have been rough between losses. I lost my dad passed away suddenly. Then this year my dog died suddenly, and I know that it just sounds like a dog, but
No,
she was
dogs are
my
kids.
everything.
Yeah.
I had her for 11 years. She was like the kid that I don't have, the daughter I don't
Yeah.
have.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And her dying, I was just like one of the biggest sources of joy just like left my life. This thing that looked at me the way I wish I looked at myself all the time, right?
Unconditional love.
Yeah. I was like, and from 1 second to the next, I still don't have an explanation or a reason why she died. So I think that's been really hard to sit with.
Yeah.
But it just opened my eyes, and I was like, and it's put me in a season of reevaluating what I want out of life and things like that. So when you asked me to show up here, I was like, I shouldn't say yes to this. And then I thought, what a hypocrite, right? Like me not showing up because I'm going through a hard season when I needed, or I would have loved to hear some things that I've experienced and how I get over them, because here I am showing up. It's hard.
Yeah.
But you show up, and you show up because of people that believe in you. Because, well, I'm going to give about 99% of that credit to God, because a lot of prayer, a lot of good conversations with like-minded individuals, women like yourselves that inspire you and bring that part out of you. And you remember, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
We're all going through it. But it was rough. How do you do it? You pull yourself out.
Yeah.
You get out of the covers. You don't isolate. Because I fall victim of that too. I want to show up at 100%. But what are we trying to do? Be perfect?
Yeah.
That would be very vain of us, right?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's perfect. I maybe don't want to do a photo shoot after I've been crying for 12 hours.
Yeah.
But guess what? I have, and I've done it. And that's another reason I'm really glad I don't use my face. Like, I know I do the selfies and I'm the model for it. We don't use my face. And thank God, because I can't tell you how many times there's literal tears streaming down my face.
I'm going to be super hot right now. Honest, open, and transparent. Super vulnerable. I called Andrea. I had therapy before we recorded this. And I said, do you have makeup? Because I have tear streaks all down my face. So I think it's inspiring to me because there's times where I know I have to get up and get out of bed, but I can't. I really struggle with anxiety and depression, and I literally can't. So I'm working through this therapy that is intense, but it's so good. And so being able to surround yourself with like-minded women has helped pull, like I said, one day I was parked I hadn't even gotten out of my car, got home, and all of a sudden I just see Andrea beeline across my garage on a mission to go to my house
To find you.
on a full-blown mission, like arms swaying.
Okay, but give context though. We had left Pray First at church. It was a Wednesday night, and she was like, she booked it out of church, and I was like, where did Annie go? And somebody was like, I think she went home, and I was like, something must have happened that triggered her to go home. And I immediately was like, I'm out. And
that's what I'm talking about.
That's
is
so
that
special.
the relationships, like, when you want to isolate, I encourage everybody, like, don't think you're a burden. Don't think people don't want to hear it, because I thank my friends, and I know God has given me these girls, women who is an answered prayer, that I could say, thank you so much for letting me talk about it again and again and again. And I think, we serve the God of again. And even though God never gets upset at us for coming to him 50 times, God, forgive me. God, I'm sorry. God, help me. God, I need this. God, that. He's always like, okay, and come to me again. I have friends who do the same thing. And so I think that is so important, how you said, surrounding yourself with those women and that like-minded community, women who do get up, women who do show up. Because as much as after therapy, I wanted to go home and go to bed, showing up here, I'm like, oh my God, my day has turned around so much. The hardest part is just showing up.
And what are you going to do if you go home? You're going to sit in bed and you're going to cry and you're going to ruminate on what was said at therapy, all the memories that got brought up that made you cry. And you're going to sit there and spiral sometimes.
And your own thoughts. We already know our own thoughts are liars.
Liars. The devil is a liar.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to ask you, with women who, since we're still new, we've been best friends. Janelle and Andrea have been best friends for over 10 years.
Yeah, like 13 years.
Yeah, so they've had a really long relationship. I'm the newbie. Like, we've been 2 years.
Probably.
3 years almost. We love each other to death. But sometimes working with 5 women, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. And especially when we're all so emotional.
Yeah.
How have you managed or navigated working alongside so many women? Give us advice. Like, we want to learn from you.
Yeah.
So let me think.
It's a tough question. Yeah.
I think it gets really easy when the core principle is defined clearly. And ours is, we love each other. It's a bunch of women that come in and out of that store. Like, we still, I don't have that turnover rate, but so we spend a couple of years together, but obviously there's fights. Very few though. I think in the last, let's say 2 years, there's probably been like 3 fights or not even fights, just
like disagreements, arguments
that we have to discuss. And whether I'm the mediator or I'm part of it or whatever is happening, there's this constant reminder of, yes, your feelings are valid. Yes, your feelings are valid. But remember, we all love and care for each other. So whatever was done was not intentional. We all respect each other. Nobody is above each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Even with daily duties, right? Like, I'll throw out the trash, you throw out the trash, or you throw out the trash. Nobody is above. I
Right.
usually like to be the one to throw out the trash. I don't like the girls going out there and doing
You're
it.
so funny.
I just feel like if I'm there, I should be doing that.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny.
Maybe that's like the mother hen in me. I don't know. But
The
I'm
mother
like,
hen.
I'm like, that dumpster's nasty. Like, don't go out there. I'll do it. And we actually all fight to do it. And she's
That's
like,
so
no,
funny.
let me do it. Or
Yeah.
no, let me do it. What a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be.
But it's the daily do that
Yeah.
and lead by example. I will, hey, girls, I'm on the way to work. Who wants coffee? I'm not above doing a coffee run. Why
Right.
would I be?
Yeah.
Right.
They're not my employees. They're my team. They're
Yeah.
my friends. Like,
Yeah.
every single girl at that store, I have no problem going to dinner with
Yeah.
Yeah.
or going to lunch with. Lindsay,
I know.
one of her best friends.
Shout out to Lindsay. You better watch this
We
episode.
love you, Lindsay. When that FIU
Yeah.
building, when she was
Yeah.
here in Miami,
Yeah.
her building was on fire. I was like,
Yeah.
Lindsay, come sleep at my house.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, what? And I was like,
Yeah. Duh.
where are you going to go sleep? In a hotel? Come sleep at my house. I
Yeah.
have a 3-bedroom house. There's plenty of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you lead like that,
It's again like cultivating that family.
Yeah,
And
it's a
even though
family.
we come from different backgrounds, different, obviously, like at this age, we have different triggers. We have different work ethics. We have, we're different. And that's so beautiful because God made us different. And I like to say the word unique, like we're all uniquely different. And so learning to respect that and know that things aren't personal. And that again, the why, what's the why of OHM Boutique? To love each other. What's the why of Women Who? To love each other, to build community. And I think you just did it so well of
Yeah.
fostering these beautiful relationships with women. And a lot of times that's hard because we can
It
get
is.
catty.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I could have a little,
Especially
Dude.
if we're all on our cycles at
which
the same
we
time.
are.
When you spend enough time, you
Yeah.
all sync up. But
Like,
then giving each other grace, right?
Yeah.
And a
Grace,
ton
yeah.
of forgiveness
Yeah.
Yeah.
over and over. And there's sometimes in my own head with maturity, you learn to like not lash out. You think about it first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, was she giving me attitude?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, she could be going through something.
Yeah.
So, and life happens.
Yeah.
So I'll look over and be like, hey, you good?
Yeah.
Yeah, why? Oh, no. Like, we're
Yeah.
good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that those little check-ins are
Yeah.
so important.
Of
They really
course.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'll notice, and we all do it to each other. I can walk in and just be like kind of quiet, whatever. And one of the girls are like, hey, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, sweetheart, why? And they're like, oh no, you came in kind of quiet. You didn't really
Yeah.
say good morning in the same tone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just like thinking about
Like I was
something."
in my own head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And then when there is a confrontation, and I'm actually currently going through something with one of my best friends. I won't like dive deep in it, but I know at the end of the day, and I don't love how the conversation went, I feel sad that I could have hurt somebody unintentionally, of course,
Of course.
but those things happen.
Yeah.
And just keep reminding the person, like, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always here. I understand that you're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to, but that doesn't change the fact that you are hurt.
You're
Right.
right.
So whatever I can do to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
and you give people space. I don't need to talk to 1,000 people about it.
Right.
I don't need advice. I don't need someone else to make me feel better about it.
Right.
I talk to God about it.
Uh-huh.
Right.
I sit with my feelings and just keep praying on. That will resolve itself.
Right.
For whatever reason, right now, a confrontation needs to happen. A conflict needs to happen because
Right.
beautiful things come out of conflict,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well,
beautiful
iron
things.
sharpens iron, really.
Yes.
And the only way that it's going to sharpen is if there's friction. And
Right.
sometimes we forget that like in order for people to get sharpened around us, there
Right.
will be friction.
Right.
Yes.
If not, then it's not really a deep relationship. It's a
Yeah.
shallow relationship.
Right.
And who really wants that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And in Miami,
I
Yeah.
know, right?
that's really all you find
Yes.
around
Uh-huh.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's so important because when you pray for, you didn't look for a team, you prayed for a team and they came to you. I prayed for friendships and they've come to me. And I think it's 3 things, right? We have to humble ourselves. We have to get rid of any pride or ego. And I forgot the last one.
Just have a mission and a focus in
Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
Solution focus is what I was going to say with conflict resolution.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, it's the resolution. You have to have confrontation with the purpose of finding a solution for it. Because if you're just coming and bringing up a conflict just to complain or just to vent, you're going to go around in circles. That's human nature. But I think when you always have your why and a solution, that's where the magic happens.
Couldn't agree with you more.
That's where you grow the relationship. And that's why, and I also think that's how relationships, whether it be business or personal, that's how they don't get complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So now I actually want to take it back and ask, because especially in Miami, and you've talked about how you started this at 23, dating in Miami can get really hard, especially when you are an independent business owner, right? And so just give us a little bit of where you're at in that, and like whatever you're comfortable sharing, because I do think that it's something like theme that I'm seeing constantly in women that are just like trying to go back to their feminine nature of like, you know, becoming a little bit more feminine and not in their masculinity. Yeah. I'm actually reading a book called Fight for Female by Lisa Bevere, and it's been very eye-opening in regards to a lot of that.
Say that one again later.
It's been really good. And I'm in a transition period right now where I'm like, I'm about to lose my independence maybe, but I think it's a good thing because I'm too used to being independent. Yeah. So I need to learn how to submit to authority and how to have rules and just a different kind of environment. I get it. So I kind of want you to dive deeper in that.
Absolutely. So dating, especially in Miami and in this situation, has been very rough. Talking for the last 14 years, right? So I was in a relationship for most of it. It was in like a 11 year relationship. That ended, obviously. After that, I don't really like date much. It's easier for me to focus more on work and the people around me and all of that. And I think that's what I spent most of my time doing, where now I'm looking at myself at 37 and to almost 38. I'm like, probably should have given more time and attention to that part of my life. But the times that I did, I grew from those relationships. Absolutely. And I cherish them, but it's exhausting. Yeah. And I like dating apps and stuff like that. That's not for me. That's not the type of person I am. Yeah. If I get nervous on a podcast where you're asking me to introduce myself, imagine me having to write like a bio, right? Or like answer the questions. Yeah. No. Funny story with dating. I love this. I actually, I want to say in like 2022, maybe 2021, I did join Hinge for like 30 seconds. And the same day that I joined Hinge, I went home and I watched, what was that show on Netflix called? Clickbait?
Oh, yeah.
You guys remember it?
Yes. I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it.
It's about like online dating and like a psychopath like pretending to be her boss, basically. People die in it. I got to the end of it and I was just like... I'm a walking target. I should not be on any type of dating app. Like, that's not for me. God will send me the man of my dreams and the relationship I'm looking for.
And that's what I think. Like, I mean, Andrea was the same, like in the same season also. Same with me. Like 31, I spent most of, I had a 5-year relationship on and off, and then a 2-year relationship almost. But sometimes you look back and you're like, wait a second, I didn't spend any time on my dating. I was just so busy on my professional life, my career, and
trying to grow up and be an adult and be successful and established.
Right, that you kind of forget. And I think for me at least, it's really difficult because obviously I know God has a man for me. He has a man for all of us. And I know that there's a purpose and a reason as to why we've spent this many years focusing on our career. Like, I don't think that's a mistake at all. Right. But at the same time, so I know a man for me is a godly man for me that God has for me is going to be, supportive of that. But when you kind of are dating in that season, you can meet guys who are insecure or intimidated about your success. So then you're like, well, wait a second. Should I just be submissive and do nothing and work a 9 to 5 and just be like little old Annie? But that's not who I am.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not what stirs my spirit. Like I love to work. I love to go out and be successful and be independent. So I love that you're reading that book, because I think a lot of us need to learn, how do we balance our independence and our masculine energy to get things done if we need to, because we haven't had a man or boyfriend or husband to depend on, all at the same time while still being feminine,
Right.
and wanting to be submissive to, you know, a partner and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know,
Well, it also depends on the kind of man, right, that you have alongside you, because you can have a man that has a vision and will bring both of your visions together and be like, okay, I believe in your vision. This is my vision. How do we execute together and become a team? Kind of how you have a team in your boutique. You want your partner to also be your teammate in life, in your career, in your goals, and all of your dreams, right? And like in how you're going to raise a family and stuff too. So it goes back to like making sure that he has a vision, but sometimes you don't attract those type of men, right? You may attract the type of men that are like she said, insecure,
I
intimidated.
thought you were going to say like I did. And I'm like, yeah, but don't throw me under the bus.
Come on. No, you spend so much time leading that you get into relationship, and then you find yourself leading that too. And you're like, but can someone lead me for once?
Yeah. But I think what's so beautiful is, I know, like I said, I think there's a reason why we've done this.
Well, I was going to bring it back to, I think of our pastors, right? We all go to the same church, and I think of our pastors, and it was something that I was like marinating on this past week. We were talking about how DC, you know, our pastor's wife became pregnant at 40, right? And which is like, most women are like, I don't want to get pregnant at 40. I mean, I'm 36 and I'm like, I don't want to get pregnant at 40. But I think of the fact that they went through infertility for 8 years, and they talk about that very openly, which I love that.
Yeah,
I admire that.
Absolutely.
But if you think about it, God was building their church within those 8 years. I know, I just got chills too. That they weren't going to be able to handle what God was building, the foundation of their church, plus their family, all at the same time. Now that church is built and they have the team,
look at the
and they have the
that
foundation, now they can focus on their family. Now they can actually pour into their families, because they're not feeling like they're having to pour into so many places. So I look at our lives and our situations, and I'm like, God's building something right now. He's building the foundation so that when we do have our family, we can say, man, but this was already built by God. And now I can pour into my family the way that I always envisioned to pour into my family.
And that everyone experiences that waiting period.
100%.
Whether it's for a relationship, whether it's for children, whether it's for their business, whether it's for their sickness to pass.
Yeah.
It's
I
there's
mean,
a lot of gold in the waiting period.
Absolutely.
And it's very easy to hate the waiting period.
Yeah.
it is. I think right now I'm in a season where I'm transitioning from that to where I've been hating the waiting. That rhymed, huh? To now I'm learning to wait well.
Yeah.
I want to wait well, and I want to have visions of victory that I already see myself as a mom. I already see myself as a wife, and I like to think of the waiting period. I mean, we all know the triangle of a husband and wife and God. And I think the more you both focus on yourselves, the closer you get to God and to each other. And so I think while we are in this waiting period or incubation period and singleness, like we can live it so well because it is such a gift.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get today back.
Yeah.
And so I think that once if we're able to wait well and also wait expectantly,
Right.
God can do so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful part.
Yeah. So what would 37-year-old Vanessa tell her 23-year-old self?
Well, I already said it.
Chill, TH, out. TH. Oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm trying to spell that.
Yeah, chill, TF out.
Yeah.
It's all gonna work out.
Yeah.
And you don't. And I was about to say I didn't have to burn myself out.
Yeah.
But I think I did, because if not, I wouldn't have looked for another way to do it.
Right.
Right. I wish I would have. I can't even say that either because it's not, that's what happens with life.
Right.
I was about to say, I wish I would have been, I wish I would have defined success a little bit more to myself.
Yeah.
But through those 14 years, the definition of success has changed for me so
Wow.
much.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
There has been one key factor, which was I want my bills paid. I want to sleep peacefully. And I want to love.
Yeah.
That to me was successful. Like I don't care what I do. I don't care if I'm picking up trash. I don't care if I'm running a wonderful business. I want my bills paid, a little bit in savings, and peace.
Yeah.
That stayed the same. But when I was younger, it was like, oh, the house and the this and the glamorous lifestyle and the Chanel bags and and then you get all those things and you're like, well, why do I still feel empty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so now 37-year-old me is starting to realize what is success for me to be able to put my phone down and not care about anything but what's right in front of me.
Being present.
My family, whether it's my mom, my niece, my dogs, my friends, women like you, just really being present in every moment. And we're talking about like, we're just sitting on the couch doing nothing, but I want to be as present as possible in that moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Makes sense. I love it.
I can't tell you the last like name brand purse that I've worn, like that I've pulled out of the closet.
Yeah, I just made that mistake. Are you laughing at me?
Yes.
I just bought another YSL bag.
There's
and
nothing
I'm like,
wrong with
there's
it.
not 100%.
I
love it. I can appreciate good leather. But for what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I was the same way. I'm like, for what? Like, I could have done something so much better.
I'm like,
with
I
it.
have all of that in my closet and I still don't really feel
I'm like,
great.
why?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all learning. There's no such thing as failure if you learn.
No.
So, and I think that's the beautiful thing. So I think with this podcast, we have discovered that you just have to keep showing up.
You just keep showing up.
And that,
How do you keep showing up?
how do you keep showing up? Praying, keep praying.
God, great friends that share like-minded.
Yeah.
And I say that, but also look for what inspires you.
Yeah.
Find people that have those qualities that you don't have yet.
Yeah.
That's how you learn them. That's how you grow on that.
Right.
For sure. I love it. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I've enjoyed this conversation. It has ministered to me. I know I'm going to be watching it so many times once we edit and air it. But thank you for joining us again. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, follow OHM Boutique, follow Women Who on Instagram so you never miss anything else. We love you guys.